Good evening and welcome to Primetime News. I'm Sandru Ferdinando.
And I'm Naveksha Gunasekara. Here are your headlines for tonight.
Cremation of the Asgiri Anunayaka Thera held in Kandy. Supreme Court orders owning and operating companies of Express Pearl to pay $1 billion as compensation within 1 year. President clarifies proposed education reforms in Parliament.
අපි මේ දන්න දේ නොදන්න දේ අයිති දේ නොඇතු දේ ඔක්කොම අපි ගන්න යන්න එපා. ඒක අධ්‍යාපනයෙන් කාර්යභාරය. ඔවුන් තීරණය කරයි.
Former Minister Rohitha's son-in-law remanded for selling an illegally assembled vehicle to parliamentarian Jagat's son. Thailand and Cambodia clash. 12 dead. TikTok and Sirasa TV unite for historic Sirasa Dancing Star collaboration.
The mortal remains of Most Venerable Anamadwe Sri Dhammadasi Thera, Anunayaka of the Asgiri chapter of the Siam sect, was cremated in Kandy today under full state patronage. Having dedicated nearly half a century to monastic life, the Thero rendered a deeply spiritual and impactful service to the Buddhist order. He passed away at the age of 67.
The remains of Most Venerable Anamadwe Sri Dhammadasi Thera, Anunayaka of the Asgiriya chapter of the Siam sect, were placed at the Udugama Sri Buddharakkita Memorial Hall within the Asgiriya Mahavihara for public homage. A large number of devotees gathered to pay their final respects. The funeral procession commenced at 1 p.m, departing from Asgiriya Mahavihara and proceeding to the Asgiriya police grounds, where the cremation ceremony was held.
අපේ ආනමඩුවෙන් අනුනායක හාමුදුරු හොඳට ඉගෙන ගත්ත කෙනෙක්. උන්වහන්සේ ගුරුවරයෙක් වශයෙන් ළමා ජීවිත ආලෝකවත් කරන්න ඉලක්කගත ගමනක් යන මහඟු මෙහෙයක් ඉදිරි කරපු උදාර චරිතයක්.
තමන් වහන්සේට යම්කිසි කරුණක් කාරණාවක් ඉදිරිපත් කරන්නට අවස්ථාව ලැබුණා නම් ඒ කිව යුතු දේ සත්‍ය වශයෙන් රටට සමාජයට ප්‍රයෝජනවත් නම් අධ්‍යාපනය දියුණුවට හේතු වෙනවා නම් ශාසනයේ දියුණුවට හේතු වෙනවා නම් ඒ කරුණ උන්වහන්සේ නිර්භයව ප්‍රකාශ කරපු ආකාරය අපි නොඑක් අවස්ථාවලදී දැක්කා.
During the ceremony, a condolence message from President Anurukumara Disanayake was presented by Professor Sunil Senavi, Minister of Buddha Sasana, Religious and Cultural Affairs.
රටෙහිත් ජාතියෙහිත් පුරවැසියන්ගේත් ලෞකික ජීවිතයේ අභිවෘද්ධිය සම්බන්ධයෙන් තමාගේම වූ දර්ශනයක පිහිටා කටයුතු කළ උන්වහන්සේ සහ මහා අතර ඒ සම්බන්ධයෙන් නිරන්තරයෙන් සාකච්ඡා සිදුවිය. එම සාකච්ඡාවලදී අප දෙදෙන එකඟ වූ කරුණු මෙන්ම එකඟ නොවූ කරුණුද බොහෝ පැවති අතර සංවාදයේදී පැහැදිලිව හා ඍජුව සිය මතය වෙනුවෙන් තාර්කිකව කරුණු දැක්වීමේ ගුණය මා බෙහෙවින් ඇලුම් කළ කරුණක් බව උන්වහන්සේට ගෞරව පිණිස මෙහිදී සඳහන් කරමි. උන්වහන්සේට අජරාමර නිවන් සුවාත් වේවායි පතමි. අනුර කුමාර දිසානායක ජනාධිපති ශ්‍රී ලංකා ප්‍රජාතාන්ත්‍රික සමාජවාදී ජනරජ.
Most Venerable Anamaduwe Sri Dhammadasithera, may you attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana.
Case file.
The Supreme Court issued a landmark ruling ordering the owners of the Express Pearl vessel, along with its local agents and affiliated parties, to pay $1 billion in compensation for the extensive marine environmental damage and economic losses caused by the ship's fire and sinking near the port of Colombo. According to the court order, the compensation may be paid in installments, with the first payment due by the 23rd of September.
In May 2021, the MV Express Pearl cargo vessel caught fire and sank in the sea off the coast near the port of Colombo. In response to the environmental damage and the impact on fishing communities caused by the fire, a group of petitioners, including His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjith and members of the fishing community, filed fundamental rights petitions before the Supreme Court seeking compensation. The petitions were heard over a period of 30 days before a 5-member bench of the Supreme Court, comprising Chief Justice Murdu Fernando and Justices Yasantha Kodagoda, Shiran Gunaratna, Achala Vengapuli and Priyantha Fernando. Concluding the hearings, the bench delivered a comprehensive 361-page judgment today. The judgment was delivered by the Chief Justice. The ruling states that former Minister Nalaka Godaheva, who held the relevant portfolio at the time, along with the former chairperson of the Marine Environment Protection Authority, Darshini Lahandapura, and the Attorney General's Department, failed in their responsibilities to prevent the disaster. The Supreme Court held that these failures amounted to a violation of fundamental human rights. The bench further concluded that the Attorney General's Department acted arbitrarily, irrationally and unilaterally by failing to take criminal action under environmental law. As a result, the Supreme Court ordered the Attorney General's Department to initiate a formal investigation into the disaster through the Criminal Investigations Department within 3 months and to report progress to the court. Additionally, the court directed the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption, to begin a separate inquiry, and to update the Supreme Court every 3 months on its progress. The Supreme Court also ordered the establishment of 2 commissions: the MV Express Pearl Compensation Commission, chaired by retired Supreme Court Justice EAGR Amarasekara, and MV Express Pearl Marine and Coastal Environmental Restoration Commission, to be chaired by the Secretary of the Ministry of Environment. The court further instructed that independent experts be appointed to both commissions. The judgment also found that the ship's master, operator and local agent had concealed the vessel's actual condition from the Colombo port master, which directly contributed to the severity of the disaster. Each party was deemed individually responsible. Moreover, the court noted that the shipping company violated international law by failing to notify Sri Lanka as required under global maritime regulations. The Supreme Court ruled that the Attorney General's decision to refrain from filing criminal charges related to the MV Express Pearl disaster and instead pursue civil litigation in a Singaporean court was unjust, irrational and arbitrary.
The legal proceedings are not over yet. The case will be taken up again on the 25th of September. The continuation of this legal process is itself a significant feature. Not only that, a directive has been issued to the Director General of the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption, to conduct a special investigation into the corruption allegations related to this matter, and to report to the Supreme Court within 3 months.
12 respondents were named in the petition, including the Minister of Environment, Minister of Fisheries, Minister of Ports, Chairman of the Ports Authority, Secretary of the Minister of Environment, the company that owns the MV Express Pearl, its local agent, Marine Environment Protection Authority, the Central Environmental Authority, and the Attorney General's Department. 15th of May 2021, the MV Express Pearl departs from Hazira Port, India en route to Colombo. On board, 25 tons of nitric acid, 1,486 containers carrying various chemicals and cosmetic products. May 19th, 2021, the vessel arrives near the port of Colombo and anchors approximately 9 nautical miles offshore, awaiting entry clearance. May 20th, 2021, a fire breaks out on board the MV Express Pearl. 13 days later, the vessel is destroyed and sinks into the sea. Impact on the sea of Sri Lanka. Severe marine environmental damage. Approximately 1,680 metric tons of plastic pellets released into the ocean. Chemical leakage causes widespread pollution. Over 200 dead turtles discovered along the coast. Dead fish and other marine life, including dolphins, found at various locations. It was later revealed that the vessel arrived in Colombo while a container carrying nitric acid was already leaking. Reports indicate that both Hamad Port in Qatar and Hazira Port in India had refused permission to offload the leaking container. Various statements were made by government ministers regarding the disaster. Among them were allegations involving a $250 million bribe, as claimed by a former minister. The 361-page Supreme Court judgment was delivered by a 5-member bench in response to this catastrophic incident. Case file. And Immigration Harsha Ilukpitiya for the 23rd of September. Ilukpitiya faces charges of contempt of court for failing to comply with an interim order issued by the Supreme Court regarding the electronic visa issuance process. At a recent hearing, Ilukpitiya unconditionally admitted guilt before the Supreme Court in relation to the charges brought against him.
Danushka Veerakkodi, the son-in-law of MP Rohita Begunawardena, who surrendered to court today, has been remanded until the 1st of August. He was wanted in connection with an investigation into the use of an illegal jeep. Police had earlier warned that they would seek a court order to freeze the assets of Veerakkodi and his wife, who had been evading authorities for several days. It was under these circumstances that Veerakkodi surrendered to court. Meanwhile, the Matugama Magistrates Court today granted bail to the son of MP Jagat Vitana, who was previously remanded in connection with the same incident.
President Andra Kumar Dissanayake today urged Parliament to support efforts to modernize the school system and ensure quality education for every child. He made this request while participating in the adjournment debate on the newly proposed education reforms, and during his address, the President offered an extensive explanation of the proposed reforms.
මම කියන කිසිදු දරුවෙක්
I am saying that no child should leave school without completing the compulsory 13 years of education. Out of 358,000 children who entered grade 1 in 2011, only 311,000 sat for the ordinary level examination. That means approximately close to 47,000 children have dropped out. One of the main objectives of our education reforms is that no child should drop out of school midway. If a child doesn't come to school for 3 consecutive days, public officials should conduct a personal inquiry into that child. Every child should be kept in school until they complete the 13 years of education. This is included in this program.
The president made a revelation regarding schools based on data from the year 2023. The president said that there are 98 government schools where not a single child was admitted. 115 schools have fewer than 10 students. 1,506 schools have fewer than 50 students. 3,144 schools have fewer than 100 students.
This situation is not good. Therefore, we need to review this school system again. We will definitely make that decision. I openly say that this discussion needs to happen without fear. Some schools should be closed. Some schools should be merged. Some new schools should be started in some areas. For this, we must consider relocating these schools. On one hand, people fight to keep the village school. On the other hand, they fight to send their children to the school in town. Remember, this needs to be examined school by school. Also, if there's no transportation, we are ready. Imagine a school in a few large buildings with a large number of teachers and only 10 students. It's more economically beneficial to give children a free bus ride to a school in the town. The current teacher-to-student ratio is 1:18, which is an optimal ratio. A 1:18 ratio is very good. However, if you go and look at every district, there's a shortage of teachers. I recently attended the Hambantota District Development Committee meeting. There's a shortage of 700 teachers, but the ratio is 1:18. What is the ratio in schools with fewer than 50 students? In schools that has fewer than 50 students, the ratio is 1:5. There are 5 children per teacher. In one school, there are 30 children and 9 teachers. So human resources are being wasted. There's a school in Kuchaveli with 2 children and 2 teachers. There's a school in Bandaravela in the Haldamulla Education Division with 3 children and 3 teachers. Therefore, our education reform program is about the government taking responsibility for providing an optimal level of education to every child.
The president explained the changes that will happen in school education for children.
There were volleyball courts in villages back in the day. There are no volleyball courts in villages today. Earlier, after harvesting paddy fields, children used to play elle in the fields. We are creating a generation of children who are like machines, devoid of warmth, lacking empathy and without a sense of responsibility towards society. What kind of education is this? Tuition classes start at 4 a.m. Children go to school after finishing classes. After school, they come back and go for tuition classes. A country cannot progress like this. We must reduce the burden of education placed on children. That's our responsibility. We are creating a generation of children like robots. Shouldn't this be changed? That's why we are redesigning the entire education system. The subjects, the teaching methods, the weight and quantity given to them, all with the aim of giving children a vibrant life. 300,000 children enter grade 1. However, only 1,800 are admitted to medical faculty. 300,000 children are walking down one path aiming to become doctors or engineers. That singular path needs to change. Education should be a multitude of paths. From there, every profession needs to be brought to a professional standard. If you look at our masons today, how does the next mason learn the trade? By following behind his master. The person who follows him becomes an even bigger master, and the person who follows him may become a bad worker. Do they finish the work once they take it on? There are plenty who abandon work halfway. Why haven't these professions been given a professional status? Shouldn't education bring in that competence, that experience, that discipline and that professionalism?
What are the changes happening in the subjects? President Disanayake spoke on that as well.
සියල්ල ඉගෙන ගන්න 9 වසර දක්වා
Learn everything until grade 9. These are basic social activities. In grade 9 and 11, what path do they take? The child, parents and teachers come together and decide what path this child should take. So in grades 10 and 11, they learn the subjects necessary for that path. What's wrong with that? If they want, they can change it when they are in grade 9s to 11. After that, they can come to grade 12 and 13. By then, their path is certain. In essence, the child is taken on a continuous, unbroken path from grade 9, 10, 11 and 12. So, this is the path. It's not about removing history or removing religion. What are they saying? Every child will receive the fundamental basics. However, we need to create specialized knowledge that goes beyond that. There is a path for that in grades 12 to 13. Parents think that the advanced level exam is the final hurdle in their child's education. We need to create an educational level that goes beyond that. Just as the national university system is built beyond that, vocational training centers are our priority. Today, these vocational education centers are often sought after by those who couldn't get into medical faculties or engineering faculties, or couldn't go abroad and pursue private education. So they think, let's just try our hand at the technical college. This is considered understood education. Our policy is that it's not understood education, it's fundamental education. We are building at least 40 vocational centers, at least 2 per district, by the year 2033.
The president also spoke about teachers.
I'm not disparaging anyone. This is the reality. There are plenty of people who don't know how to send an email, send an SMS or send a WhatsApp message. But how can they create a child for the new generation? How can they create a modern child? They are given a system to fill in. They fill in papers, fill in boxes. If they get more, they go home and fill in more boxes. They fill them in and send the reports. But the children are stagnating. This education gives no freedom to children, no freedom to teachers. Therefore, these teachers should at least undergo a year of training every 5 years. If we manage this human resource, we actually have a surplus of teachers at this moment. Choosing which subject should be included or excluded, that's not my job. It's not the job of the education minister. That's the job of education specialists. There are experts specifically for that. It became a political issue. And I saw someone say that history was removed when he wasn't in Sri Lanka. Don't take it like that. Let's not take on everything. What's appropriate and what's not, what we know and what we don't. That's the role of the education sector. They will decide. We should create the system, the framework and the objective. That's the role of the political authority. Filling in the details, the flesh within that created framework and structure is the role of education specialists.
The president requested the support of everyone for the proposed education reforms.
This isn't something that will collapse with a change of government. This is something that we must sustain long term. Let's reform this. Let's debate about other things. We have enough to fight and quarrel about here for other matters. But for this, let's come to a consensus. Because I know that when making a decision about a village school, one could incite trouble if they wanted to. Please don't incite trouble. If we need to, let's all participate in making that decision. Therefore, support this reform and modernization of this school system. Every child must receive an optimal education. There was a small debate about whether division of education into national and provincial levels contributed to this downfall, and that factor still exists. We can't touch that right now. It's a broader subject. But let's discuss that too. Because is there such a thing as national education and regional education? There isn't. There are big roads and small roads, there are big canals and small canals, but education is education. Why are we creating a division in education? Therefore, the aim is societal reform. We have started this reform. I request all of you to contribute to this. Thank you very much, everyone.
The International Monetary Fund is set to conduct its 5th review of Sri Lanka's Extended Fund Facility Program in the fall of 2025. This is according to IMF Communications Director Julie Kozak. In the Northern Hemisphere, fall refers to the season spanning September to November. She made this comment in response to a question posed by Newsfirst's Zulfik Farzan.
Thank you, Zulfikar Kamzan from Newsfirst, Sri Lanka. My first question is regarding Sri Lanka. When can we expect the next review for the IMF-supported program? And secondly, given the uncertainties and risks that are currently posing the economy for Sri Lanka, is there any decision or any exploration by the IMF to revisit some of the targets that have been implemented in the program that was given to Sri Lanka? Thank you.
So just again, stepping back, on July 1st, the IMF's executive board completed the fourth review under the EFF arrangement with Sri Lanka. This provided the country with $350 million to support its economic policies and reforms, and it brought total IMF financial support to $1.74 billion What I can add is that Sri Lanka's ambitious reform agenda continues to deliver commendable outcomes. Inflation remains low, revenue collection is improving, and international reserves continue to accumulate for the country. The post-crisis growth rebound to 5% in 2024 is quite remarkable. The revenue to GDP ratio improved from 8.2% in 2022 to 13.5% in 2024. The debt restructuring is nearly complete, and program performance has been generally strong overall, and the government remains committed to program objectives. What I can also add is that although the economic outlook remains positive for Sri Lanka, global trade policy and uncertainties do pose risks. And so as the team moves forward to the fifth review, which we expect will be held in the fall, they will, of course, be looking at the overall and making an overall assessment of Sri Lanka's economy, including any implications from trade tensions or uncertainty. And of course, that will be, they will take that into account in discussions with the authorities on policies and all of the program matters as part of the fifth review.
News First with the people.
Clashes between Thai and Cambodian troops at the disputed border have killed at least 12 people in Thailand. The fighting marks an escalation of a dispute between the two Southeast Asian neighbors that dates back more than a century.
Both sides exchanged gunfire early on Thursday, with each claiming the other had fired the first shot. It escalated quickly, with Thailand accusing Cambodia of firing rockets and Bangkok carrying out airstrikes on Cambodian military targets. Thailand has closed its borders with Cambodia, while Cambodia has downgraded its ties with Thailand, accusing its military of using excessive force. Both countries have asked their citizens near the border to leave the areas, with Thailand evacuating 40,000 civilians to safer locations. Thai authorities said that a total of 11 civilians, including an 8-year-old and a 15-year-old, as well as one military personnel, have been killed. Thailand and Cambodia have given differing versions of what happened. Thailand's National Security Council claims that just after 7:30 local time, Cambodia's military deployed drones to conduct surveillance of Thai troops near the border. Shortly afterwards, Cambodian military personnel carrying rocket-propelled grenades gathered near the border. Soldiers on the Thai side attempted negotiations by shouting but were unsuccessful, and Cambodian soldiers opened fire at around 8:20, forcing the Thai side to retaliate. Meanwhile, Cambodia claims that Thai soldiers initiated the conflict at around 6:30 when they violated a prior agreement by advancing on a Hindu temple and placing barbed wire around its base. Thai soldiers then deployed a drone just after 7 and fired shots into the air at around 8:30, according to a spokesperson from Cambodia's Ministry of National Defense. The dispute dates back to more than 100 years ago, when the borders of the two nations were drawn after the French occupation of Cambodia. Things officially became hostile in 2008 when Cambodia tried to register an 11th century temple located in the dispute area as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, a move that was met with heated protests from Thailand. There were sporadic clashes over the years which saw soldiers and civilians killed on both sides. The latest tensions ramped up in May after a Cambodian soldier was killed in a clash. This plunged bilateral ties to their lowest point in more than a decade.
In more news overseas, a Russian Antonov An-24 passenger plane operated by Angara Airlines and carrying approximately 49 people, including 43 passengers and 6 crew members, crashed in the Amur region near the town of Tinda in Russia's far east. It was reported that there were no survivors.
A passenger plane carrying nearly 50 people crashed in a remote spot in Russia's far eastern region of Amur on Thursday with no immediate signs of survivors. The aircraft, a twin-propeller Antonov 24 operated by Angara Airlines, was headed to the town of Tinda from the city of Blagoveshchensk when it disappeared from radar at around 1 p.m. local time. A rescue helicopter later spotted the burning fuselage of the plane on a forested mountain slope about 16 kilometers from Tinda. Videos published by Russian investigators showed what appeared to be columns of smoke billowing from the wreckage of the plane in a dense forested area. Rescuers in the helicopter saw no evidence of survivors, local rescuers said, as the Amur region's civil defense agency said it was dispatching a ground team to the scene.
In more local news, DMASL Digital Summit 2025, organized by the Digital Marketing Association of Sri Lanka, kicked off in Colombo.
Digital Summit Sri Lanka 2025.
Sri Lanka is currently witnessing the most significant and the largest digital event of the year. DMASL Digital Summit Sri Lanka 2025 is back for the third consecutive time.
The Digital Summit 2025, themed The Rise of Digital Asia, opened its doors, bringing together over 1,000 participants from across South Asia's thriving digital ecosystem. Held over 2 days, the summit is a celebration of vision, creativity and transformation, uniting startups, enterprises, technologists, creators and policymakers under one roof.
The government's broader digitalization drive from GovPay to digital ID, from public service apps to startup incentives, requires more than just code. It requires communication. It requires connection. Without digital marketing, even the best services can go unnoticed. With effective digital marketing, even the smallest ideas can spark national change. Let me outline 4 main ideas. Number 1 is skill development and accreditation. It's important to work with stakeholders like DMASL to expand access to global relevant certifications, micro-credentials, and learning pathways, starting at school levels and extending through professional life. Number 2 is startup freelancer support. Our upcoming national freelancer policy and startup grants will directly benefit thousands of young people entering the digital creative economy, including social media managers, content creators, and SOE specialists. Number 3 is ethical and responsible digital advertising. Number 4, the final point, is about integration with the national digital economy strategy. Whether it's promoting e-government services, tourism, fintech, or local brands, digital marketing professionals will be integrated as key stakeholders in our digital transformation agenda. Let us make Sri Lanka a digital marketing hub in South Asia, known for not just for low cost, but for high impact.
With over 25 speakers and multiple tracks and workshops, the summit is designed to spark breakthrough ideas and foster meaningful collaborations across borders. From AI and fintech to digital infrastructure and creative economies, the conversations are bold, future-focused and deeply rooted in regional relevance. The future of digital is here. Let's shape what's next together. Echoed throughout the venue as participants explored how shared knowledge, innovation and strategic partnerships can drive lasting impact. The summit positions South Asia not just as a consumer of global tech trends, but as a creator of digital solutions with global relevance. It is a space where coders meet creatives, startups meet investors, and ideas meet execution. As the region navigates rapid transformation, a Digital Summit 2025 stands as a beacon of what's possible when visionaries unite to build the future. MTV MBC Media Networks and Newsfirst are the electronic media partners of the event.
DMASL Digital Summit Sri Lanka 2025.
Sirasa TV, the pioneer in reality television, is all geared up to bring to you an internationally acclaimed program starting this weekend.
This afternoon at Colombo's One Goldface Mall. Who is this? What are they doing? It took a few minutes for the questions to be answered. What was unveiled was Sirasa TV's newest reality program, Dancing Star. This afternoon was made vibrant by the talents of young dancers. The judges for Dancing Star, which will air on Sirasa TV every Saturday and Sunday at 8:30 p.m. starting this Saturday, were also announced at this event. Chandimal Jayasinghe, Sara Abhivardhana and Dushyant Veeraman are the judges for this season's Dancing Star journey. A special highlight this year is Dancing Star's collaboration with TikTok, one of the world's leading social media networks. TikTok joins Sirasa Dancing Star as its digital partner. Sirasa TV, a pioneer in reality television, will bring Dancing Stars to you starting this weekend.
Sri Lanka is among the fastest aging nations in Asia, with projections indicating that by 2041, 1 in 4 citizens will be elderly. This was revealed by Health Secretary Dr. Anil Jayasinghe at the 138th International Medical Congress of the Sri Lanka Medical Association that commenced in Colombo.
The International Medical Congress commemorating the 138th anniversary of the Sri Lanka Medical Association commenced in Colombo. The theme of this year's conference is Health Equity in Healthcare During Challenging Time.
Sri Lanka has long been recognized for our strong foundation on universal health coverage and our commitment to accessible care. But today, we are facing new and more complex challenges. From our aging population and the burden of non-communicable diseases to impacts of climate change and to new emerging infectious diseases. When we are talking on our aging population, in the world there are 3 sets of countries going by demographic transition. One set of countries which has already sort of peaked their population. One such example is Russia. And there's another set of countries, second set of countries, in which the population will peak around between this now and 2053. One example for that set of countries is Sri Lanka. And as we all know, Sri Lanka is one of the fastest aging countries in the Asia. And the third set of countries will further increase their population beyond 23, and one such example is United States. So Sri Lanka will peak its population around 2050 at some 25 million population. So, but the other important thing is 1/4 of this population by 2041 would be elderly. My point is actually the care, the health services that we have rendered in this country 5 decades ago is not matching with what we have to deliver today. I'm sure the senior physicians here would vouch for that. I mean, with what ailments you receive patients, and now with what ailments we receive patients. And it's not only about curative care, it's about the spectrum of care. Therefore, it's very important that the health systems change given the times. So these realities demand more than just reactive care. They require us to build health system that is not only robust and responsive, but resilient and empowering. A system that not only treats illness, but builds the capacity of individuals and communities to stay healthy, to recover quickly, and to thrive throughout their lives.
The event has brought together local and international healthcare professionals, policymakers and researchers to discuss strategies for promoting equitable healthcare.
Well, I should compliment the Sri Lanka Medical Association on this 138th Anniversary International Medical Congress, which they have hosted here in Colombo. The theme what they have selected is health equity among the life course, resilient pathways, empowering lives. What I've been telling our colleagues that, say, in spite of all these hurdles what we have, we should not leave our Hippocratic oath. We should continue to serve our patients with empathy and sympathy. That's the two most important things we as a medical professionals should.
The celebration of 20 years of honorary service to the Bandaranaike National Memorial Foundation and the 80th birthday of former President Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga took place in Colombo.
The 80th birthday of former President Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga was marked at an event in Colombo with former President Ranil Wickremesinghe, former Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena and many other politicians and diplomats in attendance. Former Indian National Security Advisor Shiv Shankar Menon highlighted CBK's courage, intellect and leadership during one of the country's most turbulent periods.
As president, she was willing to take hard decisions which she saw as being in Sri Lanka's interest, and she worked with people to make them real. Her courage in pursuing peace with the LTT in the midst of the civil war, with the LTT who were trying to assassinate her at the same time, that was really remarkable. But as was her ability to use all the tools of statecraft in dealing with the problem, whether it was diplomacy in isolating the adversary, whether it was military pressure to bring them to the table, and negotiations and peace suggestions that should have ended the civil war a long time before it did finally end. And it's really that courage which saw her through the various personal tragedies that she's also gone through. That courage was in full display on December 18th, 1999, when she was campaigning in the presidential election, and a coordinated LTT bombing assassination attempt barely failed. Her first reaction was to reassure her people, to speak to them and to ensure that the bombing did not provoke reprisals against the minority community. That showed me and the world a leader who was really head and shoulders above the run-of-the-mill politician. Because she was a leader with many sides to her. She was an intellectual.
Menon issued a stark warning about the evolving geopolitical landscape, describing the current moment as a polycrisis in South Asia unfolding against the backdrop of a global phase transformation.
While Sri Lanka is an example of recovery from an economic crisis, others are not yet so fortunate. But what makes this polycrisis in South Asia different and more worrying than previous such instances is that it's occurring when the world is also undergoing a major phase transformation. The international system itself is going through change. Uncertainty, conflict, displacement are at levels unseen since World War II. And the tremendous imbalance of power that supported a Western-led order after World War II no longer exists. And there's very little prospect, to my mind, of another world order emerging. Instead, all the great powers are today revisionists. They're dissatisfied with the state of the world, and they all say they don't like their place in it, they want to change it. So unilateral military interventions, flouting international laws and norms have become commonplace in the last 2 decades. Everyone tries their luck in a disorderly world. They all think they have a chance to try and chase their own agendas. So the so-called Western liberal rule-based order died not at the hands of its opponents, but of its creators. And changes within the US and Europe have actually turned geopolitics upside down. And there's no going back.
Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga, born in June 1945, is a member of a prominent Sri Lankan political family who was the first woman to serve as the country's president.
The 73rd National Day of the Arab Republic of Egypt was celebrated in Colombo.
The 73rd National Day of the Arab Republic of Egypt was celebrated in Colombo with grace and grandeur, marking a significant moment in the enduring friendship between Egypt and Sri Lanka. The event was hosted by the Ambassador of Egypt to Sri Lanka and was graced by the presence of Sri Lankan Minister Wasantha Samarasinha, who joined dignitaries in commemorating Egypt's national milestone. The celebration drew a gathering of ambassadors, high commissioners and members of the diplomatic corps based in Colombo, alongside numerous well-wishers from various sectors. The evening was marked by warm exchanges, cultural appreciation and reflections on the strong bilateral ties between the two nations.
The 11th edition of the Colombo International Theatre Festival is set to take place in August.
The 11th edition of the Colombo International Theatre Festival is set to captivate audiences once again, celebrating the vibrant spirit of global theatre from the 25th August to the 31st August in Colombo and continuing with the parallel event in Chilao from the 2nd to the 4th September. This year's festival features productions from Sri Lanka, South Korea, China, Greece, Canada, Syria, Armenia and many more, showcasing a rich tapestry of theatrical traditions and contemporary narratives. A special felicitation ceremony was held for Dr. Ravi Bandhu Vidyapati, a revered figure in Sri Lankan performing arts. Adding a unique flair to the festival, 3 performers from Austria's renowned street theatre company, Erwich Straben Theatre, will bring their signature style to Sri Lankan audiences, blending humour, movement and visual storytelling.
The Symphony Orchestra of Sri Lanka returns to the stage this weekend with Romantic Masterworks, a concert that promises powerful music and passionate performances.
The the Symphony Orchestra of Sri Lanka presents Romantic Masterworks, a program that explores the rich emotional depth of the Romantic era. Here at the Lanka Theatre, final rehearsals are underway for a night of stirring melodies and dramatic soundscapes. From powerful brass to soaring strings, Romantic Masterworks promises to take an audience on an unforgettable musical journey. Led by conductor Dushanti Pereira and featuring pianist Dhiren Fernando, the concert will include Svensson's Festive Polonaise, the Adagio from Rachmaninoff's Symphony No. 2 and Tchaikovsky's famous Piano Concert No. 1.
In the first half, we're going to be having Svensson's Festival Polonaise and Adagio from Rachmaninoff's Symphony No. 2, and the second half is going to be me performing Tchaikovsky's Piano Concerto No. 1. We'll love to have you guys there and see you then.
Whether you're a lifelong fan of classical music or attending your first concert, Romantic Masterworks promises a vibrant and moving experience for all.
With that, we wrap up news for tonight.
Thank you for watching. Good night.